Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
What's going on, guys? This is Dan French here. This is a French Workbench podcast, another episode. I got quite a few people in studio today. Man, I got a laundry list of people here.
Dan and the three amigos.
I got somebody waiting outside. So anyways, let's get right into it. We're going to talk today about hyperinflation. We're going to talk about the housing bubble, potential hyperinflation. Michael Quebeman over here has got some good information. So let's go ahead and get everybody introduced here. We got Brett Jenny over here. What's going on, Brett? How you doing, buddy?
Just trying to keep up with this housing market.
Yeah. What's going on today, man? How you been doing?
I'm doing well, man. Busy week. Getting everybody into new homes and then waiting for the lots to be released.
Right?
Basically.
That's what's happening. We also got Mr. Michael Quebeman over here. What's going on today, Michael?
Hey everybody, doing well. Yeah, doing great.
Yep. How you been doing, man? How's life? You know, you've been working. I know you've been busy. You've been kind of out and about a little bit. You know, you kind of you got a lot of things going on, it seems like, in your life.
You know, you just try to stay busy. So
Keeps you out of trouble, right?
Yeah. I'm excited. We're doing a little bit of relaxing next weekend, going to Palm Springs with the wife. So that should be kind of interesting. Never been there before. But other than that, just trying to keep it all together.
We got a new person in here. His name is Zachary Martinez. He's from Simply Vegas. Mr. Zach Martinez, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? So let's talk, Mike, or Zach, I'm sorry. What's going on today, man?
Whoa.
Forgot
Forgot
his
my name
name
already.
Zach
I
from
think
the
I
host.
have to leave.
What's going on,
Hey,
Zachary?
bro. I don't blame you.
Everything's good. Just staying busy. You know, housing market's crazy. So just trying to, get through everything.
Dude, this is your first time.
Yeah,
You nervous?
first time here. I'm a little nervous. Got a little bit of jitters.
For what? It's just guys sitting around, dude. That's all it is.
It's shop talk.
Yeah.
It's like barber shop talk.
I'm a little
Yeah.
camera shy, but
Are you?
I think we'll get that
There's
out.
no cameras in there.
You're right.
Just
You're
don't
right.
look
Never
at
mind.
So, guys, I want to say
That's the way
again,
you gotta go at it.
This is the French Workbench podcast, and we're here. We're talking today about hyperinflation. I'm your host, Dan French, and I go by the Guru. That's what everybody seems like they're calling me today.
Oh, the
old
guru.
Guru.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The
Is that
old
self-appointed?
Guru. Yeah,
That's
the
West
old Guru.
Coast.
I don't think you can make up your own nickname.
I don't know, man. That's what I've been told.
You get on the West Coast. See us Wisconsin boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too
That's
humble.
the difference between
Too
the
humble.
Midwest and the West Coast. West Coast is like, no, I just say I am, so I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Midwest is like, you got to actually do it.
you gotta will it into existence, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
it
I
is.
just say I am, so I am.
Yeah, right.
So what's going
Oh,
on?
no?
Let's
Oh,
talk.
okay.
Let's talk a little bit about our topic today. So you guys are everybody here is very energetic. I appreciate you guys coming in. We're talking today about housing bubble, hyperinflation. We're going to talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. Are these markets overinflated?
Wait,
Right. Go ahead, Brett.
housing bubble. How are we in a housing bubble?
Well, that's the talk today. I'm going to ask your question.
We're not even close. So why are we even mentioning
Well,
bubble?
do we want to talk about that?
But
Okay.
there's-
Well,
talk about something
let's
that's-
have a talk about it.
Okay.
Mike, what do you think, man? You think we're in a housing bubble?
So I think there's some interesting factors that are going on right now. I think number one, you've got housing numbers even nationally, and then especially within Las Vegas, that shows that median home prices. I went and looked up some data so that I could come because I knew I was going to be talking to experts over here. So from Las Vegas
I'm not
Real-
an expert, dude. I just
Close
make a
enough.
living doing it.
Yeah.
Trust
So.
me.
Oh,
So
man.
anyway, so I got some numbers off of Las Vegas Realtor website. Hopefully that's a kosher
Las Vegas
source around
Realtor
here.
website?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike. No, that's a
Hell
good
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
job, Mike. Let's
So
see
it's
it.
all fake data. So so single median home prices have gone up almost 10% year over year.
Yeah.
The number of homes sold year over year has gone up 35%. So we're talking pre-COVID to post-COVID.
Yeah.
We're not like looking at it from the middle of COVID when homes
Yeah.
were not selling and all that kind of stuff.
This is a fair assessment.
So this is 35% over the last 12 months. Home prices or homes sold have gone up. This is
Yeah.
single family homes, by the way, not condos or anything like that.
For home prices?
This is just the number of homes sold.
Oh, sold. Okay.
Yeah, the prices have gone up 10%. And
I
then,
thought it would be higher for prices, to be honest with you. I thought it'd be probably at least 20-25%.
yeah,
That's low. No.
yeah.
That's
So and then the last statistic I pulled was that the number of homes available is down almost 29% year over year.
Wow.
Oh, man.
So,
See, that's the number that is the most important. So it's like anything. It's like Zillow, right? Everyone's a real estate, not you. I mean, you do third, but I'm just saying, like in general, like a lot of people. That's real estate's one of those things where everybody has a feeling. Everybody has something to say because everybody needs a place to live, right? So everyone has an opinion about real estate.
Yeah.
Of course.
So information's awesome, man. The more information you have, the more powerful you are.
Yeah.
But you got to know how to interpret it correctly.
Yeah, it's
Does
communication.
that make sense?
It's communication.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Zach?
And to me, that bottom line of homes not being on the market, and that's what overrules everything.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Zach? Do you think we're in a housing bubble? Like your thoughts? I mean, we don't have the data. We're not professionals out there, doing the research, but we do, our own share of research. What are your thoughts on it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, as professionals, we do our part and we study the market every day. But yeah, we are in a historic low of inventory right now. So obviously that's going to drive prices up. I don't necessarily think we're in a bubble, but I mean, with literally no homes for sale or
no
close
homes,
to it.
and the people coming here are buying twice the home for half the price.
course, yeah.
And for every one home on the market, there's 10 buyers.
Yeah.
And 8 of them are cash.
Yeah.
Until that goes away.
yeah, that's where the question I think comes into play is, right, you've got COVID over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
We've got a huge shortage of supplies like lumber and things
Yeah.
like that have caused everything to increase dramatically in price, making it harder to build.
Yeah.
And then you've got a glut of buyers.
Right.
The question is, as those factors continue to meet up together, how long is that particular market sustainable?
I would say
for?
the rest of the year, and things will cool off eventually. I mean, you can't go up 15, 20% every year. I don't care where you're at, unless you're like Dubai. But, I just don't see any record drops because everybody always says to me, the market's going to crash. So I always start off saying, what factors do you think are going to be so intrusive that it's going to make...
Well, that's the question. That is the question right there, right?
Right? And they all say the same thing. Well, record number of foreclosure filings and blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, well, for every one of those, there's 10 buyers lined up and 8 of them are cash. So now what's your next thing? And they don't have anything to say.
Well, here's the thing. You look at where the numbers are at. The numbers right now are at the same levels, maybe even higher than they were when we were at our peak in 2005 and 6. But yet there's nothing on the outside that says we're actually going to go through a bubble, like we're in a bubble, or there's going to be a problem.
I remember that, and you remember that.
Yeah.
You might not, and you might not. But I specifically remember selling in that market.
Yeah. Tough market.
Right? So here's the way it was. They were called Nina loans. No income, no assets. You walk into a lender. Hey, I'm a teacher, but I make $400,000 a year. Trust me. Sounds good. Sign here, here, and here. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Mike.
So keep in mind that when the real estate market crashed,
yeah.
every law that they changed, no offense, were lending laws.
No, it's true.
They didn't change one real estate law, did they?
No, they didn't. But Mike,
so now,
let's talk
if you
about
have
this.
nobody, if everybody that's getting a loan, ask anybody in the past 5 years that's tried getting a loan. They want your blood, sweat, and tears and firstborn.
Right?
They do.
Yeah.
So they're going to make sure that everything lines up. You're bringing in the verification, all that stuff, and then the other, 50% of buyers in Las Vegas right now are cash.
It's true. I mean, look, it's harder to get a loan in some cases, yet it's not as bad as it was post-COVID, right?
Correct, but you still have to bring in verification. It's not just...
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you know what was happening back in the day.
Yeah,
dude.
nobody's going to give out just a quick loan. But Mike's done some research, and I'm curious to see what Mike has to say about it. Mike, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think we're in a housing bubble based upon some of the data or information you've been looking at?
So I would say that, I don't know that I would say we're 100% in a bubble. I just feel like when you look at the market as a whole and you look at the amount of money that people are spending these days, you do start to ask questions like, where is this coming from? You talk about
agree with that.
You talk about most offers being cash and things like that, and you go, we're coming out of a pandemic.
I can
right
explain
now.
that very easily because they're selling their house in California for twice the price.
Yeah,
so they're coming here and being able to pay cash and still have money in the bank. That's why. It's very easy explanation.
Here's my thought on it is, I think,
moving to Cali, it's a different story.
Oh, man.
Well, I just want to say, let's say something does happen in the market, the economy, right? Things start to slow down, okay, for whatever reason. if Californians, East Coast, West Coast, people that are selling their house for a profit, huge profit, if that goes away, obviously our market here would go away. Do you think we would actually recover? Because my biggest complaint,
I think that everyone getting a loan can afford it, and the other half are buying cash. So even if the market does depreciate, who cares?
well, if
It's not going to affect them. So what we should be tracking is the migration of people moving here.
yeah. But
Now, if that starts to come to a stop or a crawl, then
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But even then, the market's only going to sustain a certain amount of loss unless you're talking about the entire city losing their job, and then those people who just can't get can't afford a mortgage anymore because they don't have a job.
yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Zach?
Yeah, you know what? It's honestly, and I say this to a whole bunch
You're
of
in
my
the
clients,
trenches.
right?
You're out
Yeah.
there. You're
Yeah.
talking with people. You're getting people in contract. What are your challenges?
Well, I mean, I would have to say everyone, like you said earlier, everyone's got their own opinion. So you got people on one hand saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for the market to tank, and that's when I'll buy." And then you got people on the other side that are like, "Hey, prices are going to keep going up, so I'm going to buy right now." Right? So you got to kind of. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Right?
So you spend your time talking to the people who want to buy now, and the other people
Well,
you keep in touch.
of course.
Let me know when the market's going to crash.
Well, I think
You got to do your best to really figure out who's serious and who's not, because I mean it's a
that's where
competitive
experience
market.
comes in, dude.
Right.
You find out right away. I can tell within the first 2 sentences of talking to someone.
Yeah, well, I think
just telling you.
something what Dan was kind of you were alluding to earlier, I
Yeah.
think, was that like during the preceding years before the Great Recession, people didn't look at it and say like, oh, this is we're headed for a crash.
Right.
It was, oh well, you better get in the market
Yeah,
now because
correct.
you never know what it's going to look like in a couple of years. And I think
Yeah.
I think
Right.
to your point, Brett, I think this next recession, whatever it looks like, or the next correction, the next
Yeah.
market correction, isn't going to look like the last one. You're not going to have a bunch of people that are trying to buy homes with loans that they can't afford and things like that. Maybe it looks like something a little bit different. I think too much in the economy and with economists, what you're trying to do is you're trying to fight the last war, so
Yeah.
to speak. And so I
Yeah.
think that if you're trying to look for those factors a second time, you're not going to find them. I think there are some other developments, like maybe you guys have seen this, but I've heard more recently, for example, that people are having a lot easier time buying a home, like as a couple or as friends, because they can co-sign on a loan together or something like that. There are certain developments that are happening within the market to try to democratize the ability to buy a home just a little bit more because it is getting so expensive.
Right.
And so perhaps there's some of those measures that way that as you continue to try to find ways for people to get into the housing market that otherwise wouldn't be able to, that maybe it's not a matter of not being qualified for a loan, but some other things where you might start getting defaults for other reasons.
Yeah. 100%. That's all valid stuff. I just,
I didn't stump you, did I?
No. I just, I'm trying to properly think about how to explain this or say my point, which is, I just don't think that, and I think you can agree that the circumstances behind, if things go down this time or go down some compared to the Great Recession, the reasons and circumstances behind them are two completely different, different
I do agree.
things. And what happened in the Great Recession was simply humans being humans, right? If you take away all borders and guidelines and just let humans, they're going to get away with what they can until they can't. That's what that was a lesson in.
Yeah. Right.
And that's probably a once under every 100-year in society lesson.
Well, I think we are constantly as a society or as an economy pushing towards less regulation over time, because as things get good, as times get better, we start saying, well, we don't need all of these regulations because
because people forget, right?
Yeah,
and the more regulations you loosen, like for instance with housing, the more people that can buy a house. That's more money going injected into society until it catches up to itself. That's the problem.
Yeah, you talk about the number of people that have debt now versus had debt 30 years ago. I mean, that's a huge difference, and I think that maybe nowadays the unsafe debt isn't exactly home loans, but maybe it's student loans. Or
That's the problem too, which is like, so what you had was basically people using their homes as ATMs,
right?
Back in the day. So what happened is when money couldn't be made with giving out those kind of loans, the same being these hedge funds basically stuck money then into banks or into other companies. And so they would stick it into like, say, Ford. And Ford would then take that money that they were injected to from hedge funds and then buy back stocks, raising their value artificially.
Right.
When it's not really there, because all they're doing is buying it back. They're just creating their own artificial, which is what they did with loans. So it's just a new way of doing it.
Yeah, and stock buybacks are
So
kind
that
of a
might
hot topic again.
That could be an angle.
Yep.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of different things that come into play. What I think is going to be more of a major thing of anything in the next 20 years is the appreciation of the American dollar.
Well, we're
And
going to talk. Let's talk about that.
Depreciation of things, and I think that's what's really going to
stop, yeah.
because all the money being made right now is leveraged money. You know that, like all this money that's out there. There's so much liquidity in the market right now. That's why everything's going great, and it's no sign of stopping.
Yeah.
But that liquidity is based off of leverage right now. When does that catch up?
So I'm gonna go through each one
factor,
of you. I'm gonna talk real quick about this.
Bitcoin.
We're gonna segue to another a topic here. So
You know I do.
let's talk about this really quick, Brett. Your guys' thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Brett. Do you think we're in a housing bubble? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Okay, Mike.
Probably not yet.
Okay.
Ask me again in a year.
Okay, Zach.
Well, we're not talking a year. We're
I'm
acting
going to
right
give you a real
now.
long answer, and it's no.
I don't see it either. I mean, look, people are going to continue to buy homes here. There's
Listen,
nothing-
it's nice. It's nice to talk about and get people riled up. Market crashing. I love that talk.
well, it's going to happen at
It's like
some
what
point.
sells the news.
I think it's going to happen
Shock.
at one point where we're going to have a recession or something's going to have to regress.
It will slow down. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I mean, dude, things can't go from
Yeah, it's not
0 to
gonna stay like
100
this forever.
overnight. Like,
well,
yeah,
the, the construction prices and the lack of supply and housing in general. I think those two are they're just it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
Something's got to give.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think those two are going to meet head to head here, and nobody knows what the results are yet because I don't think we've really had a situation like this. At least in Las Vegas, I've never seen
Yeah.
this. This is crazy, dude.
I mean, over the next 12 months, we could see a dramatic increase in housing prices.
I mean, dude,
because
lumber's up what 300%.
Yeah.
It could turn to panic
Shit,
buying.
I'm gonna cut a
quickly,
tree.
You know, like because people could say, well, shit. Like if I wait another 6 months,
Yeah.
and housing prices are going to go up 10%, I better buy now.
So
instead of offering 2 or 3% over ask, I'm gonna offer 5, 6, 7, 8% over ask. I don't know.
I mean,
what it is
and,
now,
and
but-
here's the thing. At the end of the day, people say, oh, that's only, I'm like, dude, but the people who are doing that are coming here and still, even if they're going 25 grand over list price, that's still cheap compared to where they come from. They don't care.
Yeah,
like there's such a gap in there. That's what people don't understand.
Well, I think the time frame.
Dude, you see it?
Oh, 100%. It's insane.
I mean, we do it every day. I don't know. Don't listen to us, I guess.
I mean, you get houses listed for $400,000. I mean, selling for $20,000-$30,000 over asking.
Yeah, do you know what that $400,000 house is? Where they come from? 1.1.
It's a cardboard box. If you spend $450,000 and
Dude, you can't even get anything in Compton, dude. You can't, because I have an agent that I'm friends with that sells in Compton, and it's like a 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot house in Compton for $550. I'm like,
Man, is
Wow.
it? Hey, what is? I bet you got some stories there, huh? Selling in Compton.
I didn't sell in Compton.
No,
Dude,
he does.
he went to Crenshaw High. Like
Yeah.
he grew up like he's like in his 60s. So
Yeah.
he's
so it was
seen the
like a
full
while
swing
ago.
of yeah.
So like time frame, I don't think any time soon that we're going to see anything where we do see a recession. It's going to keep going up, but I do feel like we're headed towards that housing bubble. I feel like we're heading towards something. I don't know the trigger point of what's going to happen though to make that go the other direction. It's just the average household income cannot afford a home today, especially here in Las Vegas. They just can't.
Yes, they can.
Okay, tell me how.
The amount of money that's moved here in the past year. Yes, they can easily.
So
Las Vegans, people that are living here, if they come here, like if you're coming from another state, sure, you can put a large amount down.
But that average point of income coming in now has raised tremendously in the past year.
Yeah, but think about it like this. If you're living in a state and the average state income wage is a lot less than the state where somebody's traveling from, that's going to play a factor or a part into can you, as
So
if you're
is Las
living here-
Vegas, Las Vegas is the least affordable it's ever been in its history. Is that a good way of putting it?
I would say so.
Yeah, it
I would
is.
say-
That's a fact. Homes cost more now on average here
in
than
the
they ever
housing
have.
market, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about in the housing market sector.
And
But
we're
it's
talking relative
relative.
to income.
It's
relative to income.
Well, it's not relative to income because the income has gone up.
Yeah, but is it
So,
increasing the amount?
If
where
you're
it's-
talking about just Las Vegans who have lived here prior to this past year, then yes.
is it increasing enough though, where it's sustaining the amount of equity? You know, how equity is building in houses, and the cost of payments and the cost of homes. Is the average median wage earner out there? Is it going at the same pace as the houses are going up? And
No,
that's the question.
but it's not compared to the depreciating American dollar either. People don't seem to care about that.
Well, let's go.
I'm
I was
just
going to say,
saying, dude,
before
like-
we get off this or before we go to something else, one of the other things I was going to point out, and I'd love to know if you guys have heard of this before, but I think this is where some of these effects start to come into play. I think these individuals that are moving in, there
won't be a correction, Hakeem.
it'll be
wanted
easily
to say that.
the people who are moving in are easily able to afford a first home, right? But I think there are knock-on effects that occur throughout the rest of the economy if you are spending more money on a first home than you used to be able to even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, like for example, I noticed that there's a new company that just went public a little bit ago called Picasso. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yeah.
But they essentially, what the whole point of the company is to allow you to, it's another way basically of cutting up a timeshare, where you will invest in a property with other individuals to own a second home in Aspen or whatever. So, I personally am not being affected by this right now. Hopefully someday, things are good enough that I will be able, that I'll have this problem. But people are finding it increasingly difficult to afford a second home.
Correct.
And afford a vacation home or whatever. So even rich people who can afford one home and are looking to buy a second one are now saying, well, you know what? Let's Uberize, or not Uberize, but VRBO, a second home. And so in a sense, they're saying I can't afford what I used to be able to afford, so I will just buy a portion of it. And that company was, I think, the fastest IPO to ever make unicorn status, which is to have $1 billion valuation.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's go right into the next topic I want to discuss, because this does have
That's a lot of what you can do with a lot of crypto.
it's in
market.
relationship
Just go in.
to the housing market.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah, I mean, this
waiting for it.
we're going to talk about hyperinflation potentially, and then consumer spending. And I want to talk about this because when you talk about consumer spending out there, people are getting stimulus checks. I mean, there's another one coming out. I believe there's one coming out for people that have kids now. And this is something to stimulate the economy.
I'll be honest with you. I can't believe that only a $1,200 check has injected so much money into our economy.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
Well, look, so we got
It depends
It's
on what
kinda
your bottom
crazy,
line
man.
looks like. It depends on what your bottom line looks. $1,200 can be a big deal to people.
Yeah, I understand, but if you need it for rent, you need, like, I don't know where you're living, where rent and groceries is not going to take up half of it, at least, if not all of it.
Yeah.
That's 1 month.
Well,
Like,
look at it
I'm
like
just
this.
saying.
So we got these stimulus checks coming out. People are saying that by printing this money, like you were just saying, Brett, it's devaluing the dollar. We have depreciation, or I'm sorry, inflation going on. But I do feel that there is the government has a way to manipulate a little bit on how much inflation they're going to allow. There's ways to. What are you laughing at, Brett?
These people have no clue.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So it's about really it's about where are consumers spending their money, and are we going to continue to see people spending their money, and is inflation going to be a problem where the average cost of goods and services and things that we buy today is going to be a lot higher because of all the money that's being printed through the stimulus checks, and also just how we're devaluing or valuing the dollar. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, I think we'll see what happens. I think that a lot of people were saving.
Yes.
So I think that in terms of the amount of spending that's going on, I think it's amazing that just printing off. I also brought in some data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis just to kind of look.
Let's hear those numbers, man.
Just to look at so in quarter two of 2020, consumer
Dude will be
saving
broke his whole life.
consumer saving was 26%. So 26% of all money that was earned by consumers in the second quarter of 2020 26% of it was saved away.
Yeah.
So that compares to 9.6% for the quarter before and 15% for the quarter after. So
Yeah.
what we're looking at is there was a huge spike in the amount of saving because, of course, everybody was panicked, right? Everybody was unsure about where things were going. But what's interesting about it is already by the fourth quarter of last year, saving was already back down to 13%. So it had already been cut in half. So I think people really very quickly decided this is only a short-term thing. I'm ready to go out and start spending again. And they had recently been saving, basically a quarter of their paycheck or whatever it was. And so, you see a lot of things. I've noticed it's hilarious in some ways, but trading cards as an example, I have never been into Pokemon cards or anything. I guess as a kid I was, but sports cards, trading cards, all that sort of stuff. Those markets.
Okay, Hakeem, you're a know-it-all.
Hey, it's okay, man. Listen.
No, he clearly is an expert.
Well, just let him do his thing, man. He's got an opinion on it. So go ahead, Mike.
We're in here.
We all have opinions.
I know, that's right.
So anyway, what I was saying is that consumer spending is clearly picking back up again, which I think is a pretty wild thing to look at considering the fact that we just recently got through a pandemic, more or less.
Yeah, so let's talk about this really quick. We're in a pandemic, you'd say, right, or post-pandemic, so things are starting to recover. We were in a pandemic. You got a lot of consumer spending that's going on. People were buying a lot of TVs and buying a lot of stuff. But from your experience, we have a lot of people out there that are looking to potentially save money and hold for a rainy day. Now, you guys have a lot of people out there that are friends, family. I'm sure you've talked. What are your guys' thoughts? What is the thing you're hearing out there as far as people either wanting to spend money or save money? What are your guys' thoughts on that? I'll talk with you first, Brett. Go ahead.
I don't have any thoughts, man. I clearly don't know what I'm doing.
How about you?
Next.
What's going on with you, Zach?
Oh man. Well, I mean, especially the younger crowd. I mean, I have a lot of
I'm
friends.
tired of these people, dude.
I have a lot of friends that
exhausted
are,
with this conversation.
investing into crypto, not necessarily saving. I mean, I've got friends. At least a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
They understand that. Hey, if I have my money in my bank account, what is that doing for me?
Yeah.
So, they're either investing into crypto. I've got friends that are my age already buying their first house.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I've got friends that are just spending all that money. Not necessarily saving anything or investing.
What's your age group you're a young guy, but you're pretty sharp, man. You got a lot of things going for you. I'm telling you, I'm not. If I got into real estate, man, when I was in my 20s, I would be crazy right now. Real estate or financing, I would be doing great. But I started in my young 30s, right? I went to a job I was doing, just a 9-to-5 job where I was getting paid a salary. Not until in my 30s I got to it. So for your situation, you have a different sphere of people. And I think it's good to have somebody here give a different perspective. What are their thoughts on it?
What?
As far as the whole pandemic and what they're doing with their money, do they feel like, hey, you know what? Is there uncertainty out there because of what's going on? Are they, what is their focus mindset?
I haven't exactly had this conversation with a lot of my friends, but I mean, just outside looking in, seeing what a lot of my friends are doing, it's not necessarily hey, let's try to prepare for this next time. I mean, none of my friends have families. I mean, let me rephrase that. None of them have kids or anything like that yet. So, they're kind of just on their own.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? They're a bit more, I don't want to say careless, but.
Well, they're young. They're younger. I'm not saying it's bad.
Carefree.
Carefree. Yeah. There you go.
Exactly.
That sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
Carefree. But like I said, I do have that handful of friends that are really, they're smart and they like to plan for the future. So they're either investing or, they're smart with their money and they're not blowing it all. But it would really just be a hit or miss. It just depends because, I've got so many different types of friends.
Yeah. So when you look at your situation and you look at where the economy's headed, do you feel confident about where things are going? Do you feel like because you're a little bit younger than us, do you feel like your generations are getting, I would say, robbed a little bit in the fact that the dollar is being devalued and that you need to put your money in other things because you want to obviously secure some type of wealth down the road where, saving money in a bank might not be the only thing you could do these days, right? So what are your thoughts? Some of your friends or some people around you are maybe looking in that direction as far as we're going to talk about it, going into cryptocurrency or going into some other type of way of investing your money.
Well, to answer your question, I don't exactly feel robbed that, I'm going to
Yeah.
have to, park my money somewhere else rather
Yeah.
than just a bank account. The way I look at it is, I'm young. I'm
Yeah.
23 years old. So,
Yeah. Good for you, man.
I don't really look at that as like a setback. Like, oh man, I wish it wasn't like this for me. I wish it was like this like 10 years later, I kind of just look at it as, hey, this is our situation. What can I do about it?
Right.
And what can I do to, make my future better for myself?
Yeah.
And, that obviously it's like everybody, works, everybody makes their own money, but, what can you do on the side to kind of help put yourself in a better position in the future? I've got, like I said, a lot of friends that have that similar mindset. But it doesn't even feel like we're in a pandemic right now. Just how things are. There's so much money being pumped in.
Money's being pumped in. You
Yeah.
got consumer confidence. Seems like it's starting to become high again.
Yeah.
People are out spending their money, but there's still a lot of people that they're planting their money somewhere. They're not just, they're like, you know what, you're going to give me
Saving it
free
up.
money? Yeah, you're going to give me free money. I think the purpose of getting the stimulus checks and us, putting all this money out and then constantly putting more money and more money back in circulation is obviously to stimulate the economy, get, GDP back up, everybody starting back to work. I think it opens up jobs. But the people that are saving, is it going to have a long-term effect, right? Because, when we first saw it, people were buying TVs and things like that. Mike, what are your thoughts on the fact that, do you think consumer spending is going to stay continued down the road here in the future? Like, what do you think?
That's a great question. I think it depends on how many people were able to get back to work and how quickly they were able to. So
Yeah.
I think that the unemployment rate went up, obviously skyrocketed. But I actually I had a question for you, talking about, individuals that and what people are trying to do with their money. Do you feel like a lot of your friends are invested in the stock market right now?
I'm actually surprised. Yeah. If you were to ask me that same question,
Your
2 years
generation's
ago,
huge in it. And
that's
kudos to you guys for that,
Oh,
man.
yeah, 100%.
with
I
Wall
mean,
Street bets
seriously.
and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Kudos to you guys for that, man.
Yeah,
shout out Wolf of Wall Street. I think that put a lot of people on.
Wall Street bets. Wall Street bets.
Hey, man,
Reddit.
I think too, I do think that there's a different level of thinking when you have the younger generation.
There is, 100%.
And I think that's where we're at right now, is that you see a lot of people, and this is where I was coming at, is you go back to when I was in my 20s, we didn't have anything like cryptocurrency. We barely even had the internet started. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
remember when you were bored? You were bored.
Yeah, like nothing to do.
Music on the radio. Yeah, music on the radio.
we
Put in a
used to
VHS tape.
Oh man, VHS tape.
You
What's
don't
that?
even know
What's
about.
a VHS
You don't
tape?
even know the struggles, dude. You had to call somebody. You had to pick up the phone and go. You don't remember.
So
Be kind, rewind, man.
Be kind. Yeah, man. Get you. That's where they made all their money. We're on the late fees.
I'm young, but
And
I'm
I'm-
very understanding, so that's
Yeah.
why I like to take advantage of the
Your
situation
stuff is
I'm
like,
in
I
now.
want it now and free, or I'm on to the next. And that's what everyone needs to understand for the servicing industry in the future. It's not only are you giving it to them for free, but what benefit are they going to get from using you? And you need to make a reward system for that.
do you think inflation is going to be a problem in the near future?
Yes, 100%.
And when do you see?
Well, here's the thing. Inflation has always been a problem if you look at the deflation of the American dollar since like the 60s or 70s. But in my opinion, as long as America is still an idea and America is still the place to be, that doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody regards the dollar as the highest value in the world collectively, as long as everyone still views America the way that they do. So the actual deflation of it's already been happening, but it doesn't matter yet.
Yeah. But I mean, they did take the dollar off the gold standard,
A long time ago. Yeah. So in the
and the petrodollar is something that people are trying to do away with.
That's what people need to understand, which is in 1944 or 45, Roosevelt, I think, basically made it illegal for you to personally own gold. As an American citizen, if you have any gold, you have to sell it. You have to give it to the American government right now. It was a law that they created. You cannot personally own gold. That was number one. And then in the 70s, Nixon said, well, geez, our dollar is backed by the gold standard, but that restricts us, right? We can't raise our dollar. We can't just print more money if we have to be held to the gold standard. So you know what? We're going to go off the gold standard, and we're just not going to have a gold standard behind it anymore. Then we can create as much money and print as much money as we want because we say so.
Do you think
No problem there, man.
Mike, do you think we're heading into hyperinflation potentially?
I think hyperinflation is a bit probably over concerned. I think if you're gonna talk about situations in the recent history with
Sorry, hold on 1 second. My fault. Go ahead. This thing connects sometimes where it's.
I was like, he's hosting the show. And he's
how unprofessional.
Everybody pause real quick.
how unprofessional. I'm getting it from all angles today.
Oh yeah.
And a quick word for
Yeah.
our sponsors.
Yeah.
There you go. Quick word from the sponsors. Go ahead.
So yeah, if you look at recent examples of hyperinflation, you have Venezuela, you have Zimbabwe. I mean, those are very unstable economies.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a long way to go before you get to where I mean, it can happen quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight.
I
But
agree with you.
The point with
Long, yeah.
hyperinflation is one of those things where it's like it catches up to you before you know it.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that the difference between the I can't remember what the currency was in Zimbabwe, but the Bolivar in Venezuela, they don't really have an avenue. They don't have an outlet for the rest of the world. They
Right.
have the country, and that's it.
Right.
The difference is that the U.S. dollar has so many hands that want it that we're a lot further away from that sort of thing, because you really need people to stop saying,
So
accepting it at whatever value it's
So
at.
if you lived in like Venezuela,
Yeah.
it's almost like if you had your money in Bitcoin, you would actually have value.
You would have more because there'd be more people that would be willing to accept it.
Wow. What do you think?
What do you mean be more willing to accept it?
So the way that what I'm saying is that the reason why the dollar is as safe as it is because there are so many people that are willing to accept it as currency.
But Bitcoin and Litecoin and all that's accepted around the world. Like, I don't understand. You mean in your country?
I'm agreeing with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why I said it because Bitcoin
Everyone's
is
arguing with me today. I automatically assume people are trying to.
Right.
No,
So we're like,
it's
next.
more
I'm
accepted.
next.
Dude, I'm getting my claws out. Arrgh,
You're
you see
you're
that,
on
dude?
it, bro. You should jump on this table right now.
Yeah.
Just playing.
Dude, you bring out all my anger
me grab my
management.
coffee real
Bringing
quick.
out all my anger management issues today. Jesus. Saturday morning.
This is supposed to be therapeutic. It's taking you the other direction.
Obviously, I have issues.
Hey, man, we all do. Don't worry about it, buddy.
I
have our
admit
own
it.
issues.
So,
Yeah, that's right,
I
man.
admit it. So, it's all good.
We all got skeletons in the closet, right? So,
But yeah, as far as that question, I don't think we're close to hyperinflation. I think it's a sexy headline to
Yeah.
write. Like, are
Yeah.
we ready? Are we ready for
well,
hyperinflation?
I think the
But-
money that's being printed could potentially lead to that because
Sure.
the cost of things could potentially skyrocket,
But to Brett's point, I think one of those things that might end up cutting into hyperinflation is the fact that as let's say we get closer and closer towards rates of inflation that are flirting with hyperinflation,
Yeah.
people might start jumping off the bandwagon and getting onto cryptocurrency.
That's kind of the rise of this last time. Is it's a hedge
Yeah,
against a lot of that stuff.
because you have options.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had options 20 years ago.
And if people are already starting to use that as a hedge, and that still only represents 5% of the world, think about. I think it's fair to say that it's probably got a lot of room to go up versus down
Yeah. Well, look,
as far as percentage usage.
so people are looking for options to go outside of the normal investments. Now,
That's exactly what it's about.
right. Homes are there, right? We can always invest, but you're saying they're overinflated. We've talked about if there's a bubble, we don't know. We think it's heading that direction, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And it's expensive to get in, right? As far as like a single unit, like being able to invest
Oh,
in
yeah.
a house.
100%.
Yeah.
If you can somehow chunk that up, maybe investing
There's
in a REIT
there's
or something
lots
like
of
that.
creative ways, and
Yeah.
real estate is an industry that's begging for blockchain. It's an industry that's begging for a transition, for something like this to change.
Yeah.
It's way too much of a big business it's just begging for
Well,
it, dude.
so I put money into crypto, right? And I have my share.
Yeah,
so-
I get to hear it from them the last
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah, all you see is in red, Brett. So
Well,
I'm just
now, dude, this guy's complaining to me yesterday because things are down 8%. He's like, I'm down $800. I'm like, dude, look at Bitcoin. It was between 5,000 and 8,000 for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
For a year and a half. And then in 3 months, it went from like 10,000 to 50. Imagine holding something for a year and a half, dude, and not seeing it do squat.
Hey.
I don't want to hear it.
Did I hit the other trigger point?
I said
Is that
you
the
had
last-
you had
is that
to
the last one?
I said you had to give me your crypto. You don't deserve to own it anymore. You lost your crypto privileges.
So I brought
dude.
a couple pairs of boxing gloves. You guys want to take it outside in the hallway real quick?
I'm down like 20 grand, and this guy's like, I'm down 800.
You're down 20
We got
grand.
paper hands over here.
Something like that. He's got salad hands and I got diamond hands, bro. Diamond hands. You know what that's all about.
I like that.
Dave Portnoy.
So look, let's talk about that. All right. So
Salad hands.
Brett.
That's awesome.
You're
Parabolic.
somebody that loves crypto. You're somebody that loves to talk about it. And we're going to talk about it now.
Well,
is it similar to play? I know. Is it similar to playing the stock market? Right. In a sense that when you put money,
will it go up and down?
Correct.
Yes.
Right. So the thing is what I'm trying to figure out is the trust that you have is what I want to hear it.
That's why crypto's the future, because of what I was telling you before we got in here today. We're in a world now where trust is no longer a thing. People don't trust police. People don't trust authority. People don't trust government. People don't trust banks. Nobody trusts anything, especially your generation. It's not. It's,
Well,
it's,
that was a strong point. Hey.
Well, here's
I just had to smile.
I'm saying that as a compliment.
No, I know.
Because
We're just joking,
it's
man.
not a big deal to your generation. You just accept that, yeah, people lie. You can't trust. Like, you guys just accept it. It's not a big deal to them, right?
Yeah,
right.
But that's what I'm telling you about is nobody trusts anything. And cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like all of that recreates and brings in a trust system, in a monetary system that's never in the history of our world ever existed, because it's all been owned or manipulated by a person or a government or whatever it is. And that's the kicker of it all. That's really the ignition behind it all, which is it's a form of trust.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about money, which is probably the most important. I mean, money, dude, you can control someone's life with money. What I pay them, what I don't pay them, what I have them do for this. You can control somebody around with money.
Mike,
When you
would
take away
Mike,
that from somebody.
Would you invest into cryptocurrency? Have you invested into cryptocurrency?
I have not yet, but I'd be more than happy to. I need to understand it better. But I guess I think it's fascinating that you say that one of the main benefits of cryptocurrency is trust, because I think it's a generational thing. I think if you talk
100%.
to people who are 50, 60, whatever, I think there's a certain cutoff at some point, right, where people start to become a lot less trusting of cryptocurrency, if for no other reason than simply because there's nothing physical to touch. And I think that is going to change over time as people get continually more comfortable with their lives and everything residing on the internet. I mean,
I think that anybody that doesn't have the new attitude is already irrelevant. They're irrelevant, or they're going to be.
What are your thoughts?
And
Zach?
I think that
new
his
attitude. I like
generation is the up and comers. So 20, 25 years from now, when I'm 65, 70 years old, you know who's going to run the world? Not me and my perspective.
I don't
him and
know.
his
Look
perspective.
how old the people are who are in politics.
Yeah, but
They
we're
still-
it's a different world now, dude. I'm telling you,
it's-
it's
but
a
he's got a
different
point,
world,
Mike's-
dude. These kids, I'm telling you, you gotta keep up with the kids, dude, or you're. I'm just telling you.
I mean,
dude.
they grew up with the technology that we didn't have.
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. So
it's just a different.
It's second nature to him. He doesn't understand what it's like to not have this in his life. So he doesn't fully understand where we're coming from, other than older people talking about.
Well, I'm
farting
pretty
dust,
open-minded about
you know?
it, so
But
I'd like
you,
to think.
but you know what I mean? Like
majority of people
Yeah,
my
I
age,
understand
yeah.
where he's coming from, which is, I mean, think about when you were 23, dude.
Yeah.
I'm 45. I was like I might as well been a grandpa at that age. And I'm not, dude. I'm just getting started. But I'm just saying, you know.
So you invest into crypto. I mean, is that something that, like, you got people that your sphere, are they interested in crypto? Like, the younger generation seem like they're interested in investing in different ways. They had what was it, Robinhood, right? A lot of younger generations, because the stock market to me is very difficult, especially if you're getting in. If nobody's going to explain to you how to invest your money in the stock market, that's an easy way to get started. But you see a lot of younger generations in Robinhood, and you see them in crypto.
Well, let me back up. I actually haven't invested in any crypto yet.
Okay.
It's something that I
I can
wanna
get you
learn.
started.
Oh, yes.
After the
Please.
show.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
You just gotta give me a referral link so I get some Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then my dad's always talking to me
You too,
about
and
it.
you I already got you. I need a referral from you too.
But yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. I got sidetracked.
Sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
Cryptocurrency.
Someone was interrupting.
I know, man.
I wonder
Sorry,
who that
guys.
was.
That's my millennial attention span
I'm
right
all
there.
over the place today. Dude.
Or am I a millennial or what is it,
You're-
Gen Z?
you're a-
You're
Yeah.
a Gen Z, dude.
Oh, shit.
Millennials
There
are
we go.
old.
That's okay. We already ruined everything as millennials, so you guys are set.
Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah. So in terms of It's just so easy, you know? I mean, I've got everybody, or I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of my friends, like, I mean, we've all got Apple Watches and stuff, and then I always see the green on their watch. They're always checking, you know, their portfolio on Robinhood, and it's just so easy for people to just get into it. You know, I mean, you don't really need to know a lot, you know, as long as you have.
I'm telling you, man, maybe some of the ways that they're getting their stocks and buying them, like GameStop and stuff, you're setting yourselves up for failure, but that's fine because I'm a firm believer that nothing gets your attention like sticking a little bit of money into it. And even if you lose some money, you're still learning about the market. You're still learning. Now, if you do your whole life savings, I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're probably going to make a stupid move in some other area in your life too, if it's in your nature. But you know, it's educating people. I mean, like you said, you've got guys that are every day they're checking their stocks, and I mean that was unheard of, dude. When I was 18, I was like stocks.
Just to have a watch like that was unheard of, right? You're checking your watch. You're like,
they don't even know, man. Dude, remember you want to record a song, so you had to wait for it to play on the radio and put it in a blank cassette tape and then hit record. Dude,
that's crazy.
You don't even know. And then you made a mix. Like that's the way you showed your love for a girl was the mixtape you made her.
Oh, the mixtape.
Dude, it was all, dude. Baby, look at this mixtape.
How many mixtapes did you make, Brett? How many could you say you put out to girls, man?
Hardly any, man.
You didn't do any mixtapes. You were a guy that was.
I wasn't.
You
Not
were
a
guy
romantic, huh?
I wasn't.
You said that was how you showed your love to somebody.
Nah. I wasn't anything special, dude.
He's like, I had the
come
blueprints,
on.
I had the sketches for it, but
Yeah.
never got to the drawing board.
Oh man. So going back to it, so we're talking to you real quick, Mike. You're in the millennial stage group, right?
Yeah.
Would you say? Okay, so
I guess so.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
What year were you born?
91. So I think I'm towards
I was a freshman in high school.
the beginning of the
man.
millennials.
I was born in 97, just throwing it
Oh,
out there.
Jesus Christ. I was getting out of college.
Oh, man.
So let's ask this
Things
question.
I was doing when you were literally in diapers. Anyways.
You invest your money, right?
Okay,
so you,
anyway.
you
Yeah.
put your money. What is your age group? When you, I mean, you're not going to say that you can speak about behind, on behalf of everybody.
Sure.
What is your age group though, as far as where they spent their money? Where did they actually plant some of their money that they had going? Where some people want houses. Were they big on buying houses?
I think people in my generation would love to buy houses. More people would love to get into the housing market. But I think one of the things that millennials, at least in terms of what you see online, in terms and talking to people and whatever,
Yeah.
to the extent that I can try to speak on behalf of millennials, which I know is pretty presumptuous of myself. But
Yeah.
but in order to try
We
to
grant you permission.
all right. Yeah. Caveats all around here for this. But what it feels like is that there are a lot of people who are frustrated with the purchasing power of the dollar and how there maybe generations prior were able to get a house with a lot less money or were able to work at a much different job in order to provide, still a stable income.
Yeah.
And I mean, college obviously doesn't mean what it used to. Even grad school doesn't mean what it used to. All of those things, you need to start to find other ways to make your money work for you, which is, I think, where we're going here, and which is what we were talking about with Robinhood. There's such a pent-up need for people to find different avenues to make their money work for them.
That's a good point, man. That's a really good observation.
That I just think that our generation really started to feel the pinch of that in combination with student loans being a lot bigger of a concept than they ever were before. So I think our generation feels like it's still starting to get into home buying, but we're like 10 years, behind previous generations in terms of getting into that kind of stuff.
Well, you're living 10 years longer.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll even itself out.
Well, the thing is too, like I said, people are looking.
Keep on eating your Beyond Meat.
What is that, Brett?
My wife's a vegetarian, so I can say that.
I know what you're talking about. It's funny.
It's fake meat. Dude,
It's pea meat, right? Like peas.
ain't nothing
and-
like the real thing.
Okay.
It's whatever.
So going back to investing, so we're looking at cryptocurrency, and we'll talk about that. What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency, and where do you think that's going to head, Brett?
I think we're just getting started. A year ago at this time, I said cryptocurrency was where the internet was in 1991. I now think it's where the internet was in 1996.
Okay.
So I think it's just getting.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're just getting started, and being my age, and we're all current with all up and coming trends and what's going on in the world. And I mean, like I said earlier, like if you were to ask me a few years ago, like, hey, what do you know about crypto? What do you know about this? Right? Nobody really. I mean, there was a good handful of people that were, invested in the stocks and crypto, but I mean, just the amount that it's blown up in the past few years is just crazy. And obviously, it's not something that I can see just
It's not going away.
No, it's
And
not
so
going away.
there, in my opinion, there's geniuses in every generation. Your generation has your own geniuses, and they're going to be equipped with the knowledge of the internet and everything it can do. So you're going to take something that is already a background, not even a second thought to somebody because they're raised on it, and you're going to combine it with their genius. Watch out, dude. I'm telling you, they're gonna blow us away, man. They're gonna,
What do you think? What do you think, Mike? I mean, because like people are investing into crypto, they're investing into the stock market. Is there any other things that you would consider investing in? Have you had any thoughts as far as like, hey, maybe I should plant my money into this? Because we all know that stocks are going to perform for the most part. We've seen record numbers in stocks. That's probably that could come back down, but we're seeing the stock market go crazy right now.
Right.
We see cryptocurrency in some ways really taken off. Bitcoin's like was up at like 63,000. Is there anything that you can see where maybe some people in your generation or people in your sphere that says, how can we invest more money, in another maybe asset tool or something? You know what I mean? Something that you could put into.
Well, I think the stock market in general, like you're talking about, I think it's just getting to the point where it's so far removed. A lot of stock prices are so far removed from the fundamentals to the extent that the price probably has never in the same way been so far removed from what the company actually does.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The
fundamentals mean nothing with a stock's value now.
Yeah, nobody's looking at PE
That's
ratios
something new
or
you guys are
anything
throwing
like
into the twist. Everybody knows what they're doing. It's like what it does.
Yeah,
But that kind of says something right there. Not to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting you. Sorry,
go
man.
ahead.
At least I'm acknowledging it.
Yeah.
What's it matter with like what fundamentals and facts are when the reality is something different?
Well, you talked to me
like that only like the facts only matter to a certain extent. You know what matters is the money being made and not being made. The reality of it.
Well, you talked to me about there's more of an inside where now in stocks. It seems like you got to know more of the inside behind the scenes about who's investing and you got to because you can't just be the average.
I'm talking about Wall Street bets.
Right.
So that's my new Bible. Dude, when I buy stocks, I just hang out on Wall Street Reddits.
Everybody turn off the stream.
Wall Street bets,
taking
Reddits.
investment advice
And
from Wall Street
I
bets.
just watch what they all talk about and what everyone's. Same thing with Twitter, with cryptocurrency and Twitter. You go on Twitter. I have a Twitter account and I'm there for cryptocurrency, and you follow the people. And you just see what everybody keeps talking about with the coins and whatever it is, and sure as shit, usually happens.
Zach, what about you, man? So Zach,
I just copy other people, dude.
Right.
I just notice what people are talking about.
So I have something to comment on that. I mean, obviously, there are huge trends that happen. So I don't know a lot about this, but what was the deal with GameStop and AMC? Like,
So
like I said earlier, I don't invest in anything yet. But it was just completely
don't make
viral.
any money, but they're
right. And then there's all these memes being made about it, and then it just kept growing and growing in popularity. And then
that was to screw the man. The reason why GameStop happened.
It turned into that for sure.
Okay.
But what originally happened was there was a guy. I'm blanking on his username
Gil.
on Reddit. It was gosh, man.
Deep effing value.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That was his name. Deep effing value is his name on.
But anyway, so so there's a lot of people, we talk about
awesome.
democratizing investment. We've
Yeah.
been talking about that off and on here for the past hour, and this is one of those instances in which you see different people.
Let's talk about Safe Moon.
You talk about different people on YouTube coming out with their own due diligence and things like that, and this guy had a play. He said GameStop is going to kill it. And so I think this is the play. I'm going to hold a bunch of, investments long term. I'm going to hold calls, some longer term calls, in order to try to play off this stock going to the moon. And originally everybody was giving him shit for it and whatever, as
Because it started out with him making these comments because he actually felt it was an undervalued stock, and that in the future it was going to be worth. So he was getting in on the ground floor. He actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean that's obviously just an anecdotal story about it does still pay at times to do your homework. So probably still look at the fundamentals a little bit. But then, of course, once the stock started to take off just a little bit, I think a bunch of people really got on board with it and were really excited about the concept of GameStop being this company that it's a little bit of a meme, right? This company should probably be going bankrupt at some point.
Right.
Yeah, because they're brick and mortar for video games, which you
Right.
can order. I downloaded
Do
a
everything
new
online.
Online,
Yeah,
yeah.
the PS5 was probably one of the most recent death knells to the GameStop
Yeah.
service model,
Yeah,
where they came out with a version of the PlayStation that doesn't really even have a hard drive,
Right.
so
Yeah.
you have to access all your games online instead.
Yeah.
So like that just goes to show you. I mean, GameStop's number one part of their revenue, at least for now, is still buying and trading used games because their profit margins are insane.
Insane,
on those.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Trade it in for
like
really-
a nickel,
Yeah.
and then they turn around and sell it for $40.
Yeah.
So it kind of turned into this a little bit of a meme at first, where it's like, holy shit, this might actually go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so people started dogpiling, and he started releasing like daily updates showing green numbers, more green numbers, and whatever.
And then kind of the nail in the coffin was it was discovered that there's investment groups out there where their only strategy to make money is to bet against a company and say that it's going to go down. So they're shorting it.
Right,
So
that's the other thing I forgot to mention, so
There
yeah.
was this huge investment company who represents the man to your generation. He's
was
the
Bain-
man.
Bain Capital, right?
So they said, man, here's a company that stands to make billions of dollars basically devaluing another company. We're going to get together one by one, all of us on Reddit, and we're going to
French version.
Ready.
like I don't care if I buy $5 worth or I buy $5,000 worth. We're all going to collectively get together and buy the shit out of GameStop for no other reason than to make sure that those people shorting lose all of their money.
Yeah, it's
because
just-
they're the man, and I want to screw the man. And collectively, if I can screw the man, boom, and that's what.
And it turned into a
ultimately-
whole movement.
And it turned into a whole movement. Exactly right.
See, and I think it's because, like you said, like you brought it up in the beginning, lack of trust, right? So
Lack of trust, dude.
Lack of trust. You got people that don't believe in the system a
Yep,
little bit, and
absolutely.
you got things going on. It's like, okay, these people are making a ton of money. How can we at least make our difference? How can we? And this is a good point that you brought up, Mike. Is that with GameStop and all these things, it's not a big company, but yet they had people get influenced on this on a grand scale. Do you think that's going to happen moving forward with other situations other than just GameStop?
I don't, and I'll tell you why. It's not because there's a lack of interest in the economy. I think it's because the SEC is going to jump in at some point and say that that's not appropriate anymore. So, because right now what you have is you have a lot of laws that are okay. The generally speaking, the securities market is regulated by the 1934, the Securities Act of 1933, the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, and the Investment Company Act of 1940. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but those bills were brought into law quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So, from that perspective, obviously they've updated stuff since, they've amended things and whatever
Yeah.
to try to get get into the modern era. But really, these laws are situated around a way of the economy working that really is much different than it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about what the
Yeah.
stock market looked like in 1933
sure.
versus what
It's
it looks
almost like
now.
some things in the Constitution. It's a completely different world now than then.
I mean, things change. So anyway, so I
just gonna
think
leave that open ended.
I think the SEC has a long way to go
Yeah.
to come current on a lot of stuff, and I think one of the ways in which they're going to try to do that is they're obviously very concerned about insider trading, and this is a form of insider trading. It's much more public. It's out in the open, but it's still kind of collusion for the sake
But
of,
here-
of influencing a stock price. And I
Well,
think what what do you want to say?
Well,
that's been going on with Wall Street since the beginning of the time.
but
collusion.
it's different. But it's different because it's behind the
Because
scenes.
they own the money.
Plausible deniability. They can say, "Well, we're not aware of it."
Yeah. No, or more importantly, they own the money and he owns the money, controls the money. So,
Yeah.
you're not going to have rules that are going to take away my money because I control the money and you. That's
right.
why.
So, but that's why there's a big difference between what was going on for the last 100 years and what's going on
and
in the last year and a half.
things like that, and the SEC wanting to come in when people know the hypocrisy in it
Yep.
is exactly why your generation is going to say, "See you, dude."
Well,
I'm telling you.
right, because I think
Exactly,
ultimately
that's the point, dude.
the SEC's number one public goal is to instill confidence in the system.
Really? The SEC used to be led by Bernie Madoff. Ever heard of him?
Yes. But no,
There's your trust.
The point there is that their whole goal is to try to instill public trust in
Yeah.
the system, because as soon as people lose faith, it isn't necessarily even that it has to be operated this way, but just so long as people believe
Yes,
that it
Chuck,
operates
it is.
this way. So to the extent that like the four of us in here are looking at the stock market going, man, I don't want to invest in the market because I don't trust that I can win because the
Correct.
insiders always win. Then I'm not going to invest in the market. And the SEC has a huge problem where
good
a
point.
huge majority of the population simply doesn't trust the market, and the stock market can't
that's
function.
why a lot of them are in the crypto markets.
Well,
Right.
let me say this.
So
though.
yeah, with less regulation comes manipulation, though.
Right.
So pick your poison.
The regulation needs,
You know?
it needs to be restructured. Probably is what it does. It
Yeah,
needs to be
yeah, yeah.
restructured in a way that's more consumer friendly. But I just don't know that that's what's ever going to happen because I think that it's a couple people make all the money in the stock market.
Can the average household income or the average family out there invest in the stock market successfully? Because it seems like we talked about this, Brett.
Dude, you absolutely can. It's real. I mean, if you buy like you're supposed to with stocks, going off fundamentals,
Right.
yes, that's why people have done it for years. Like,
Okay,
Yeah.
so
it's tried and tested.
they've come up recently with something where they said that you have to have a certain amount of money in your portfolio to actually invest in the stock market. We talked about that,
What do you
right?
mean?
Well, you said there was they had to have at least 25,000 or something in
Who
there.
said that?
Well, isn't there something that came out for that? I'm curious
It's a proposal. I'm assuming you're
well, is
talking
there
about.
a
Because
certain
this
amount of
hasn't
money
been-
that needs to be
Any money
Right.
that you're going to spend on some BS that you don't need to be spending off, if you stuck that into stocks, will suit you much. You'll always have money.
Yeah, but is there a certain amount of money to get started? Is what I'm trying to say
No.
for somebody out there. So,
I
because
mean, you got to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to start out with $1 million and not know what you're doing?
yeah,
I think we're going the other direction, to be honest, and I think that's part of what we're sensing here
Correct.
with the trends with things in general. Like we talked about Picasso, where you can buy part of a second home.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places now where you can buy marginal shares. You can
Yep.
buy a part of a share because it's now too expensive to buy an entire share.
Yeah.
So I think the goal of a lot of these different companies is to try to, let's cut it in half. If you can't afford the whole thing, let's cut it in half and still get you involved. And I think that some of that stuff is really interesting. I think what's happening is everybody's trying to find ways for you to get more involved in the market because even the guys at the top want that because they think that they can take that money from you. So, okay, fine. I won't take all 50 of your bucks, but I'll take 25 of them
Right.
if you got it.
And historically, they will.
yeah.
yeah. Zach, let's
That's
talk.
why you should listen to people who know what they're talking about.
I want to talk to Zach over here. So, Zach, you see Vegas. We're going to talk about Vegas, and we'll wrap this show up. So, you're in Las Vegas. You're out looking at the activity level of Las Vegas. Does it appear that people are out, consumer spending's up, and does it appear that Vegas is well back onto where it needs to go as far as recovering from pre-COVID? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, yeah, I have to say yes. So my girlfriend, she works on the Strip, right? She works at this really cool restaurant called Beer Park, and they are slammed. Apparently, she told me that the projections for what they're going to make this year should double, if not triple, what they were making in 2019, which is just crazy, right? And the fact that there's still restrictions, I mean...
Wait till it's completely over.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
People can't. People have had
can't-
a year of just, dude.
Yeah, people were locked away for a year almost, or
Humans
however
are meant
long.
to. Yeah, humans need freedom, dude. That's how
People
we
want to
work.
get out there.
That's how we're
so
designed, man.
I think just living my day to day, doing what I do. I'm just seeing that while there are a good amount of people that are still hesitant to go out there and come in contact with other people.
Yeah.
I think there's a big majority of people that are ready to just get out there, and I mean you're seeing it a lot on the Strip. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean.
What about you, Brett? What do you think, man? You think consumer spending is going to be going off and people are going to
100%.
recover?
Yeah.
What do you see the activity levels out there? You got people buying homes. I mean, you're
Well, I mean,
coming here to
you can't really apply like a lot of people that I'm working with to buy homes to.
just activity
the
level.
economy.
People have trust in buying here. They obviously see that.
Well,
the
yeah, I
economy-
mean, it's just real easy. I mean, right now it's you have a world now where work is never going to go back to the same it was before, and COVID was the game changer that implemented itself out of nowhere, right?
Right.
So now everybody can work remote, or companies are saying, okay, we only need you to come in part, whatever it is. So now people want to say, People say, I don't need, I mean, listen, if you live in LA and you make good money, you're living there because you're making good money, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's fair to say you probably could do without the 2-hour traffic to go 15 miles.
Right.
Right. So if you could have the same money and not deal with that experience. And so I think that the demand for that is so much so coming over here that, you know, they carry everything over.
So you're seeing,
so they all have jobs. So everybody's always like, the shift in work has already changed. So that's done. And now that that's done, now you're talking about people being able to go somewhere where they can live cheaper.
right?
And all these jobs are coming back.
Plus, they're working from home.
And all these jobs are coming back. Yes.
Right.
So there's a lot of unknowns that are going to happen that we're going to find out. But I don't think that is too much reflected going to be in a negative way.
Right.
Other than things can only go up to a certain point for so long before they need to come back to earth.
Correct.
That, of course.
Mike, what do you think, man? You think that this activity level is going to stay consistent? People are saying we're going to recover first, Vegas, and just in Vegas in general, maybe second quarter of next year. They're saying that this is going to be a continuous thing, pumping the economy, stimulus, things like that. But we're not going to see full signs of recovery till maybe second quarter of 2022. What are your thoughts?
That seems like that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think discretionary spending, that sort of stuff, is kind of already back. It looks like, just from talking to people, from the data, just in general, it looks like people are back to spending, kind of where they were before in terms of, like not being so concerned about buying something fun, buying something interesting. Like, I think when you're looking past making sure that you got food and water for the day, I think that's a really good sign. And, yeah. So I think that tends to be what drives the economy, right? Like there's only so many people that can, invest in a grocery store or grow food.
That's what I'm saying.
Then you've got all this other stuff that's discretionary, and I think that stuff started to take off again. Maybe
we were in a position where we never felt the effects of not having everything at our fingertips. So when COVID did happen, everybody started to, maybe their mindset shifted where we need to start saving money. We need to start stocking up on food and water. Not even because, not exactly, right? Not because it's so much that this is going to be the deciding factor of, are we going to survive or not? But, is it something else down the road? Is this just a door opened up for other things that could potentially come up? Yeah. And so I think that's what we're looking at is how is this whole thing going to unfold? We're in uncharted waters. So I do feel that Vegas is definitely on its way back. And I do feel that, when you see the activity level down on the Strip, I got friends that go down there. It's definitely coming back quick. I mean, you see the activity levels crazy right now.
People can't wait, man. And we're not even full capacity yet. So,
and then you talk about the fact that everybody was saving money, not just a year ago. Yeah. And so that money's burning a hole in people's pockets and whatever. And so then you add a stimulus check on top of that. There's a lot of people that use that stimulus check to make their rent for the month and things like that. Yeah. But because they had the income level so high with those stimulus checks, you got a lot of people that didn't necessarily need it, and they're spending it on something else.
Right.
Or they're making more. I'm talking about.
We're gonna wrap this
Bitcoin?
up.
Are we Bitcoin? Is that what we're back to again?
No. It always comes down to that. Come on,
Brad. Are you coming off your caffeine fix?
No,
He's like,
no.
All right, man. We're gonna wrap this up. You guys, thank you so much for coming in. We got Mike Weberman. He's an attorney. We got Brett Jenny from Simply Vegas. Zach Martinez from Simply Vegas. My name's Dan French. I'm your lone guru here in Las Vegas and your host of the French Workbench podcast, and we'll see you at the next stream. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.